So Frosina, thank you for coming to EAMS, and I'm very much looking forward to your talk, harnessing the power of technology to facilitate a creative approach to improve student engagement and assessment. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you. And welcome everybody for coming. Really very well combined presentations today with Eliana and Natasha and me, all about student assessments. I will probably be talking even faster because I also have so many things to share. So get ready. During the last 2 years, especially the last school year, but there were two main questions that I was always thinking about. How do I engage students, and how does that engagement look like in asynchronous learning? Because I can be talking during Zoom lessons, but is the learning synchronous? Like, yes, I'm delivering the material, but are the students actually getting me? So that was one of the two questions that I had. And the other one is, how do I assess properly what students learned? I wanted to instigate a culture for learning. So that was my main goal, even before in in-person classes, and provide ongoing support, merciless support. I would always say to students, if I'm not driving, I'll reply to your email. So that was kind of like a to show them that I will be there while they learn and they work on a question. If you have a problem, take a picture, email me. If I'm not driving, I'll respond and you can go on. You probably remember this video from Veritasium, where he's kind of saying that this will revolutionize the education. And it was always something big and boom, but then after some time, it really doesn't go anywhere. But I think this time we hit exactly the point. This couple of years definitely are revolutionized for the education. Everything that we did, everything that the technology companies did, everything that the students are actually showing that they can also do is really amazes me. I do have a disclaimer as well, but this one is that what I will be presenting now is there are many, many things that already have been done. You probably are already doing, but I just want to show how I implemented them in my classes. I wanted to bring 3 pieces to my presentation today. One is what I did with students, with my classes before we started, what I was doing during the synchronous classes, because I was trying to bring the students to attend my synchronous lecture, because if they don't come to the class, not much I can do with them. But if they come, then hopefully they will get even more. And then after the class is over, how the learning continues after I finish my Zoom class. I hope this presentation inspires upon an activity or an inquiry that you may bring to your students as well. About my students, I teach college level math. I have 2 different streams, software and networking. In the first semester, they're mixed. Second semester, they're split. I tried many different strategies. I work with in a relatively bigger math department. We have different strengths from the faculty members. And I feel that we tried everything, from everything that we can hear or we see or read from another webinar or another book. We will try it and bring it to class and share with the rest of the faculty members. I didn't proctor my students when I was assessing them, but I was trying to find different approaches, how to minimize cheating, but also maximize learning, and different opportunities to show what they learn. So you'll see there's so many things that I tried, and many of them, almost all, I will be keeping when we go back in class. I am scheduled to go in class this fall. All these couple of years, I was all online. When we first went online, summer 2020, I sent a survey to students who did over 90 on test 1. Would you like to share some strategies on how you made those great results? And what would you like to say to the incoming students? Thinking if my students don't believe me when I tell them, oh, you have to do the assignment, you have to do this and that, maybe they'll believe their former peers from the previous generation. So I gathered their comments, and what I did, I made a little video in VideoScribe. I put offensive music to go along, which, so I'll make the video play a little bit without the sound, but I wanted to show students that they're all capable to do lots of stuff. And with the comments from these students, like I can go on doing the assignments as soon as they open. Aren't we all say this to students? Attending classes isn't, again, the same thing that we all along tell students, but this time hoping that from students, coming from students will do a better job. I don't have any research done on was the video really doing some work, but I have a verbal or written positive feedback from students, how they were kind of even inspired. I do finish the video a little bit with a little graffiti that was written a little bit, actually fair number of years ago, where in the elevator in our on our campus, it was saying, cry now, graduate later. And I share that very often with students, because when time comes very hard, I know it's understandable. College is hard. If it wasn't hard, everybody will do it, right? So I say that, but those times you know that you have your peers, your group that you kind of nurture and you make it all along. And I'm also there. I usually finish with, I'm just an email away. So whenever they have anything suspicious, they're not sure of, please send me an email. Then I have another survey during the first week. So I know this may not be an assessment, but it's kind of contributing towards the assessment later on. So during the first week, I sent a survey and asked a couple of things about the students, how they want to learn, what kind of commitment they have outside of college. You can be surprised of how many of them have part-time and even full-time work during the studies, and the time management skills, and how many hours they plan to do homework, and what's the percentage or that they plan to do attend the online lessons. And I come back to these two things. Like after the survey results I get, I create a PowerPoint and I bring them to class and I say, you promised me that you're going to be doing 5 hours per week homework. Are you doing it? Or you promised that you're going to do over 90%. And this survey actually in week 1 is over 70% taken by students. Like it's the biggest percentage of attempting or filling the survey from all the surveys that I do. It's also interesting, the time management. Most of the students are very sure of their time management. And I'll show you a little bit later how that time management 3 and 4 star kind of tries to get a little bit down. I also ask for what are their expectations from the teacher. And when I bring them to class, I say, this is what you said, and I'll deliver everything that you wrote. Most of them, like so far, I don't think that I got a comment from a student that will say, no, do something that is not achievable by the teachers. I'll deliver, but then I say, these are my expectations from you. So I will deliver, but I also expect things from your side as well. So we have a little bit of chat during, based on those survey results. My course content, I'm in Canvas and I create all the modules that inside my Canvas. I don't have a textbook, I have course notes. I have like a course outline and learning plan is also brought on the front page. But I was always saying, wouldn't it be nice if I create a quiz on the syllabus, as many of us already have done, right? But this time I did it in a little bit of a different environment. So I use Mobius in my assessment, or anything that I can think about I bring in Mobius. So this is a 360 image video of my one of the networking cybersecurity, I believe, classroom that we have at the college. And just to give you an insight how that looks, and I think that even if I move it, I don't know how well this goes, because when I move it, I don't know how it looks from your side, but I'll bring, oh, I cannot paste. I wanted to share a link from this page only. Yeah, I put it in the chat, so you can just experience how this kind of movement, I don't know, it excited me the first time I went in the app, so I can so I kind of squeeze in the questions that I want to ask, the most important things that I want to ask about my course at the beginning. When is the test one? Make sure that you are you don't have a work or something else for those dates. So they found it very nice. And one thing is that my students are online, so they didn't come to campus. So any picture that I can bring from the campus was a cherry on the top for sure. The other part of the course content, because I don't have a textbook, everything was in course notes. I made a roadmap in Mobius where I will have the material and videos, short videos beside each of the topic. My Zoom classes were not recorded, but all the material was in little bits and pieces put in Mobius. They can refer, they can have during an assignment, when they work on a question, they can refer back. Universal design of learning, we're very big on that one. So now I said, okay, for my course notes, beside each example, I'll have a Q note, a Q code, so QR code, where if they have the printed notes, so this is a work in progress. I did it in module 1 and 2 modules in another course, but summer is still young. Hopefully I'll finish it so I can start fully for the next semester. But anything that I can bring in, I will bring in. My classes, my lectures, the ideal that I have is to bring it in little pieces, kind of like a micro-lecture approach. Still work in progress, but again, every lecture that I can bring in and compile together is a plus. Bringing a video inside Mobius and having, this is a YouTube video, I teach Boolean algebra, computer math. And also then I have a little video of me working on an example with my handwriting. So they say that when students see somebody else writing down, so they kind of try to copy and they write down as well. Starting with a little example, small question, not right away to the big one. We probably are doing the same. I always say, like, not knowing is not a pleasant feeling. So making sure that my first question is very achievable, that's my goal. And then after the lecture, even if I teach in class, I will say, where do you think a student will make a mistake? Like, not you, but somebody else. What kind of mistake do you think it may happen? Or what do you think your teacher may ask on the exam or on the test? So I use Mobius. I started using Mobius 2020 winter, before the pandemic started. And thanks God, because it saved me during the online. I'm a mathematician. I'm not a programmer, but I was able to do a lot in Mobius. Just going through the questions that are already there, evaluating that code and making my own. And I also had 2 students helpers before we went online. So that also was pretty crucial for me. Again, I have 2-hour lectures, theory delivery. I try to make, when I deliver in class during Zoom, I don't want to be a tutor. So I try to make it a little bit more professional. So a little bit, the theory has to be delivered in a lecture kind of mode. But then we have same worksheet. So we work the same, the students have the same paper, we work on the same examples. I encourage, and maybe because my kids are computer kids, they love to chat. So the chat is very big and frenzy during the classes. But again, for different classes, and I started this for another course that it's a new development. There are different teams in modules that I can use. And I'm not a programmer, I cannot create a team, but I borrowed one from, I believe, University of Waterloo was the team, and I just changed the colors, and I can have my class, my course like that. The support that I have from the Mobius side was enormous, and it was really, really beneficial. Everywhere I go, I try to give them a big credit for that. Learning strategies, I included learning strategies in my assignment. And I said, here is a video, identify some strategies that may be used by you. And I asked them students to comment. So this is in an assignment, a last question, and it was a bonus. This is week 3, where students will pick which ones are the best, and then write a little comment about them. The comments that I had from students were really, really reflection. And I'm sure, I don't know, it is anecdotal, but definitely it made a little bit of a difference in their way of study. So by week 3, with this little quiz, assignment question, I noticed that there was something else going with students. The time management dropped a little bit. There were other things that were also important, but the time management, they started not to be so sure, and they had to work on. Mobius gives me the feedback using the same values as in the question. So that's pretty cool. And I believe most of the online assessments are going that way. But I was really happy with having that. I was even amazed how they can use the same numbers that they use. Also, I was able to bring another thing. This is from Objection LOL, where a student can, like I have a question where solving a very simple equation, but there is a simple error that most of the times happen by students. And when I created this, I didn't know that this comes from a game that students played in high school. So I really, really, like, they thought that I was cool bringing that into an assignment. But there is a little, there is not an error in the solution, but there is really a ground for appeal. So I was really trying to see, and this cannot be Googled. Students cannot really go somewhere else and find it. So about assessments, we do know that how students get assessed, that's how they plan, they try to learn. Most of the students will even go and attempt the quiz and the assignments without even going through the notes. I try to bring short answers with explanations and multiple choice with explanation. So there is an immediate feedback assessment technique. This is a paper that I had, like it was a little kind of cards where you can scratch to see where the answer is. And by the how many of them were scratched, I can see how many times students were wrong. So this was done when we were in face-to-face. And I said, can I do this in Mobius? And yes, I can. So I gave them 5 multiple choice answers, but there will be a penalty after each attempt. This was good because students will, like, yes, you can attempt all 5 of them and see which one is the last one will definitely work, but then you're losing a little bit. So when I did the test, my last 5 questions will be multiple choice with penalty. So they will keep themselves busy with these last questions, but at least they will still get some kind of answer or mark for the attempt. Or I can bring, I'm not sure, you probably have seen the flow chart, the bar chart, or any other things, but this comes from Flourish. You create the bar graph in Flourish, but then you bring it in Mobius. And just that flexibility that I as a teacher have, instead of saying or sending a student somewhere else, and then another somewhere else, and another somewhere else, and every student has to now get used to that kind of app. Where do I press start or end or whatever? And then another program, another course has different apps as well. No, this way you actually have everything in one spot. You can write, you can get a question, multiple choice, or this is a simple write me short overview. And actually there are a couple of 2 more questions after this part. But again, something from outside that you can bring in Mobius. Tests, they like to have input towards tests. So instead of asking them to create questions, I created a test review of 20, 30, 40 students. I do have to talk a little bit faster from now on. I see the time. So what I did, I created those test reviews or final exam reviews. And then I asked students, rank the question. Please rate this question in order of preference and your understanding for the test. And I said, I'll actually go and I'll take the top 10 questions, your choices from all the class, and I'll put those concepts on the actual test. This gave students extra work, extra preparation for the test, and extra motivation to prepare for the test. And also, they are in control. Now it was interesting, although, that to see one question will be 5 stars for one student and 1 star for another student. So again, just shows how students learn and work differently. The first time when I did this, I did it manually. I collected all the data. I put it with pen and paper. I promised them I'll take the 10 questions, and I did it. But then I went and I asked Mobius Digital Ed, and I said, like, is there a way of getting that data per question, per part of a question? And I was almost sure that they're going to say no, but they did say yes. And they said, this is how you do it. And it's an Excel file. You go in, and then from that Excel file, you just say how many stars, and and then in Excel, I can manipulate and see which questions were the top 10. But that was, for me, I was blown away. Yes, I can do it. It's not just per question, which question was the lowest one, but it was per part of a question. And then when I did the tests and the final exam, I actually had a little copyright here where it says Mocha College, because I say these questions are my intellectual property. So instead of on top of your cheating accusation, like if you get caught, you will also be with academic integrity. There is actually a professor in the States who sued their students for academic integrity as well, like the whole class. I also communicate the results. I create a little bar graph or histogram of how the test went, and then I ask them. I release the comments because students write handwritten solutions, upload them, I mark them, and then I release the comments, not the grades. And then I ask, what grade do you think you're gonna get? And predict the grade, but also describe any changes in the strategies. What do you think you will learn differently? So this was pretty interesting to see how the top 10, the top 3 from week 3, manage your time, master environment, and take notes, changed after test 1, and manage your time came to be 3rd, take notes came to be 1st, and eliminate distraction was also 2nd. It was very interesting for me as a teacher, and I do plan to do this every semester, especially in the first semester, incoming students, where they kind of learn how they learn as well. Academic integrity, I try to make questions. For example, this is a video where a full solution with an error, locate and click on which row has the error. Or I have a logic block diagram and they have to click on which gate is the actual output B naught plus C. Or multiple choice questions with a penalty, as I mentioned earlier. I do have online timed exam. But it was because I want to have all students at the same time. If somebody misses a student, they will have 80% another makeup test in Mobius, but also 20% oral exam. So that was new last year that I started. So far it went well. I don't think that I plan to have a little survey asking students after the fact, but somehow didn't get through that. For the participation, I have two things to do. One is module 1 video tutorial, and the other one is map concept encounter. For the video tutorial, watch a video on something cool, a little bit challenging material, and then answer questions. So this was for the students who were a little bit more understanding the material, because for the same class, I'll have students who know everything and students who really, really suffer still. So this was for more challenging students. The other option that I gave them, so they can choose one or the other, pick a concept that you had problems understanding, but you finally understood it, and then reflect and share how you did it. The things that they wrote, the students wrote, was really, for me, a great insight. How they perceive my teaching or reading through the notes, that was pretty crucial for me as well. Additional support, the Mobius, for example, Mobius has big bank of questions from other institutions. I actually found one from Professor Michael McCabe from Europe. I adapted it. I gave the credit. For this fall, I plan to bring students kind of like a brush up lessons before we start. Here is something that you can brush up from high school math. And also plan to bring an academic integrity test, or kind of like a quiz question before they attempt a test. Everything for the academic integrity. And here is the math escape room that I created. It is based on Professor Paul McGrath from University of Waterloo. The 360 images are from our Professor Richard Borger from our Mocha College. And this is the link that I had posted as well before. Initially, I created 2 escape rooms, first and second semester. It was the questions were very hard. I gave them as a bonus. The students were very liking it, like they really liked it. But the attempt was not that high, because it was bonus on top of the final exam, during final exam week, when they all prepare for all the other stuff. For the following year, for this school year, I brought them the same questions, but brought them in assignments. Last question in each of the assignments, so they can still access or see the campus, because again, these are my online students. And course feedback, what I did every semester, we do have a course evaluation. I took all the comments and I put them in word cloud, word it out. The most frequent word was students. Another semester, another year, again, students, doesn't fail. It's all about students. And it's that kind of comment that students will say, they really appreciate everything that we do for them.
Sorry, Frosina, just to, yeah. We're running short of time, so just to remind you of the clock. Apologies.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's my end. That's my end as well. It was, that's what I wanted to say. It was really all about students.
Thank you very much.